There's an old radio phrase. A lot of things about radio that I'd like to forget, but there is one that I remember. And it's, if you're going to tease, then you've got to please. It's a true phrase that I heard from a program director once in radio. And I broke that rule yesterday because I teased
the flip-flops?
I did. I teased something and I didn't please. So, I did tease what was going on with my summer footwear, and I never got to it in an hour of content somehow yesterday as we were yammering on about the Club World Cup final. So my apologies on that. That program director, I don't know if he's a subscriber to Section 1904, but if so, tisk tisk. That was bad. That was my bad, even to the point where people reached out and said, so what's going on with the flip-flops? What are you trying to do out here? So maybe we should address this one early. Welcome in. It is Tuesday. This is Section 1904. Section 1904, by the way, is not just a podcast. It is a website.
Yep.
It is a newsletter.
Yep.
There are social media channels. There's a Discord channel that we talk about all the time. One of my friends who's a subscriber, we went out to dinner on Saturday night, and she said, "What is Discord?" And I said, it's probably something that you don't really need in your life, but maybe something that you want in your life. So it is an open community channel for networking and for conversation about sports specific, baseball, Padres, SDFC, football, food, culture, wine, beer, weed, all sorts of stuff. It's also a bunch of social media channels. We do have a Blue Sky account. We do have an Instagram account. We do have a Twitter account that John never uses.
Yeah.
Because he just hates X so much.
I do.
And apparently we have a TikTok account, which I did not realize, but we have now planted the seeds on multiple social media platforms. John, should we promote some of this stuff?
We can promote some of this stuff. I mean, I'm using the social media channels to try and make people aware of this, but we can use this to make people aware of the social media channels. The TikTok account is really blowing up. People really like that. Funny enough, I'm taking these videos from when we record because we can see each other. This video does get recorded. I've been thinking about releasing the full videos to just like our higher tiered people. Maybe I'll try that today and see how that works out. But I've been taking the clips from the videos and putting them on TikTok and putting them on Instagram and occasionally putting them on X and Blue Sky. And yesterday I was like freaking out going like, look at all these people clicking on our TikTok stuff and leaving comments and the views and everything. And I looked, I was like, Instagram is almost the same number of views, but there's like no one leaving comments on Instagram. There's like no engagement. It's just people watching and then moving on. So apparently TikTok is where we get people that are buying in and people that are commenting that they're happy to see Darren Smith talking about San Diego sports into a microphone yet again. And that's what I'm doing it for, Darren. I want people to discover us who are unaware because, I don't know, we don't really have the budget to buy billboards, and I don't know how effective they would be anyway.
Okay, well, don't post this video because I literally just picked my nose while you were talking about everything that you were trying to do there. So, I know the way this works.
Tomorrow.
I know the way this works. People will screen grab anything. It's happened a million times. Everybody tried to stick a camera into a radio studio over the last 10, 15 years. So, this is probably not going to be any exception. But, I mean, we did get a little bit of good advice from one of our recent guests, who also is an independent journalist, who told us a little bit about where he does see some traction. So, I think it's all helpful. This isn't, we'd be lying if we said we knew exactly what we were doing here. Like we have an idea, we have a destination, but the road is kind of twisting and turning, and we don't know exactly what the directions are and how we're going to get there. So we're open-minded to a lot of this stuff. I think the best thing for us is, we don't have to live by the standards that we've lived under for however many years. In my case, 20 plus years doing talk radio. Not that you can't take certain elements of that, and apply it here, but you don't have to apply it all. So do find us. If you're on TikTok, John, do you know how can they find us? Is it Section 1904? I guess.
It's Section 1904. You search
I've
Section
never been on
1904.
TikTok. I have friends who are on TikTok. They always send links, and I always try to click on the links, but it'll never let me play them. I guess I'm going to have to subscribe to TikTok.
Not me, Darren. I know that you're not going to go. I've tried sending you a TikTok link, and you reply with, I don't do TikTok. So now I download the videos, and I just send you the videos themselves so you can watch without clicking on the link. Speaking of picking your nose, when I was watching the Wimbledon women's final on Saturday, they cut to the American girl whose name I've already forgotten. I apologize to her. Not that she's a subscriber or a listener. They cut to her box that her family was sitting in. And as soon as they cut to the box, her boyfriend, her very supportive boyfriend, who was on camera a lot of this match, just went straight into the nose, picked out a booger, flung it away. And I was like, man, that's the thing that those people don't realize is you're on camera a lot when you're sitting in the family box, and apparently when you're doing a Section 1904 podcast. So no nose picking, Darren, going forward. And if you're in a box at Wimbledon next year, same rules apply.
I was scrolling through my phone the other day, and I found a video that I shot of Jake Cronenworth about a knuckle deep into his nose. And I don't know why I saved this. I don't know what I ever planned to do with it. But sometimes when you're bored, mostly on a flight, when you're flying across the country, you're like, I'm going to take this time to clean out my photo album on my phone, since I have who knows how many photos. I mean, way too many photos. I shouldn't have this many photos. 9,318 items on my phone. So, every once in a while, you're like, I'm going to clean that out. And I came across this Jake Cronenworth, again, like second knuckle deep into his nose. And he's using the pinky, too. So he's really making the effort. It isn't just a reaction like, hey, something flew up there. I got a scratch. I got an itch. Like, he's got a full, like, second knuckle pinky digging into his nose. And I have that on my phone. I'm like, what? Why do I have this? Why do I have this photo right here? What was I planning to do with this? Have I ever done anything with this? Yeah, I mean, he did it on television, though. I mean, it was literally me, like, running up to the television, a 50-year-old man running up to his television with his camera phone, rewinding it so that I could video Jake Cronenworth picking his nose on television during a Padre game. Like, what kind of career is this? I don't know.
Your wife must have been so proud.
Every time, she sort of gets what we do. She doesn't fully understand. So when I'm like, oh, hold on, I got to rewind this. And I go running up to the television with my phone. She's like, what is this?
When you posted the video of the pigeons taking a shit on whatever on the Padres broadcast like 2 months ago.
Yeah. The Seagulls at Wrigley.
San Francisco? Oh, Wrigley, yeah.
All right, so here's the deal. So go find us on all the social media channels. I've been wearing reef flip-flops for the most part since moving to San Diego, I guess. And I've mostly been okay with reef flip-flops, but I'm wondering if there's a better way to do it. And I recently brought up the subject of Birkenstocks, and I got just a terrible reaction from the people that I was with. Like really a negative reaction about, maybe I'll think about some Birkenstocks. We were with a group of friends, and I think most notably was my wife, Leah, who's like, wait, what? Birkenstocks? No, this is not going to work for me. And she made it quite clear, although I think she was just speaking in generalities, that Birkenstocks, she had a negative opinion of them, John. And so I started looking around a little bit. Then I was walking around the neighborhood, and I bumped into a friend of ours and a subscriber. And he was wearing a pair of flip-flops, and he was running in these flip-flops, but they weren't reef flip-flops. They had a little bit of support on the back. And then I remembered when I was a lifeguard, I used to wear a brand called Teva. I think it's called Teva, T-E-V-A. Some have called it Teva. But I used to wear Teva or Tevas. And I remember liking those, even though from time to time people would say, those look like Jesus water walkers. And so I started thinking maybe this is a time in my life where I can explore a different form of summer footwear other than reef flip-flops, the standard reef flip-flop. And surprising as it might be to some, like you get a lot of pushback on this sort of thing. So I'm not sure what everybody else is wearing on their feet these days. I'm fine wearing a pair of reefs to go to the beach. It's 100 yards away from my house. I'm fine bumping around a little bit in a pair of reefs. But if you're going to wear them outside for any length of time and you're going to do any period of walking, they don't really work for me. So I think we're at the point now where we're thinking about some alternatives. Now, our friend Steve Garcia, who is the host of the Emo Brown podcast and the owner of 3 Punk Ales in Chula Vista, he is unapologetic about his footwear, and those aren't reef sandals. So I find myself now curious what other people think. Ultimately, it's just going to matter what I want in life, and I guess to an extent what my wife wants. If she really objects to Birkenstocks, apparently they have a reputation for becoming a bit smelly. If you wear them and you sweat in them, that they become a little bit of a sore. Like they're tough on the nose. Sure. So I don't know about any of that, John. But this was where I was going yesterday. So I hope this was worth the wait for everybody.
You and I had this conversation over text a couple weeks ago, and I was wondering where you landed, because you're talking about, you're kind of going back and forth between sandals and flip flops. I don't do sandals, like the strappy sandals. I have a pair of flip-flops. I also have a pair of slides for basically for like pool usage because I don't want my flip-flops getting wet because I wear rainbows, which are I think made of leather. And they're great that you wear them in and then they just fit so perfectly on your feet. They're a little rough for the first few days, but after that they feel wonderful. And I think similar to the Birkenstocks, which maybe my rainbows get smelly and I don't even realize it, but I'm on like my 4th or 5th pair of rainbows. I get a new one every couple years when they get worn out. I love them, but my wife, who is very fashion forward, recently told me that Birkenstocks are in again. Birkenstocks are cool again. I think she even tried to get a pair, tried them on, didn't care for them, sent them back. But I just did a very, very small bit of Googling and found a post on a website called Savoir Flair titled Birkenstocks Aren't Just Cool Again. They're the shoe of the season. Now, granted, this was from 2022, so maybe that season is over. But apparently there are other fashion websites, bloggers, whatever, that agree with my wife that Birkenstocks are cool again. I would recommend rainbows. I love my rainbows. They're not great for walking long distances because they are flip-flops. You probably shouldn't be walking long distances in flip-flops. But if you are, then yeah, maybe your Tivas, or whatever. But yeah, I did notice when I did the Emo Brown podcast, which I think is going to come out sometime this week, that Steve had a pair of sandals that looked like they could also be used as chanclas and thrown across the room at somebody, and he was very proud of them.
He is very proud of them. I don't think I can get away with those. Now, Tivas or Tevas, they do sell flip-flops, so there are plenty of flip-flops here. But I'm thinking what might be in order for bouncing around a little bit would be a pair of these slide sandals. See, that's what I'm looking at here. There's a pair of slide sandals.
I got slides.
I don't know that I want the strap all the way around the back. I used to have those when I was lifeguarding because, you have to go running around. Kids would fall down, all that sort of stuff. So you wanted something to have a little bit more support than a flip-flop. So the universal sandal of the Tiva or the Teva, I think, that's something that I would think about as well. But I think Birkenstock seems to be the most controversial topic here. I just think that Birkenstocks, like people are just adamantly in favor of them or against them. Your wife seems to be an outlier in that she has changed her opinion about Birkenstocks. I feel like once you're in with Birkenstocks, you're in forever. And once you're out on Birkenstocks, you're out forever. So she seems to be the outlier in this conversation.
I thought that same thing. I was like, Birkenstocks are not cool. Who would wear Birkenstocks except, they got branded as like they're what hippies wear in Portland, right?
Crusty, very crusty, granola.
Very crusty, crunchy, all that stuff. And then when we were living down by San Diego State, a Birkenstock store opened up in a, kind of nice part of La Mesa. And I was like, a Birkenstock store opening here? And that was around the time my wife was like, yeah, they're coming back. They're getting popular. People like Birkenstocks now. So I don't know. Maybe you could be ahead of this trend, Darren.
Maybe, or maybe I'd be behind it since you're referencing something from 2022.
Could be.
But I feel like the Tevas get a bit of a bad name because they have the strap that goes around the heel and then the one that goes over the top of the ankle and then the one that goes across. I guess it would be the knuckle of the toes. I guess that would be the right way of saying that.
Sure.
So there's a couple of different straps there. There's good support. They're very comfortable. I remember liking them a lot, but when I got to San Diego, people are like, yo, you got to ditch that. You can get out of here. I mean, it's a great way to identify yourself as somebody who's not from San Diego is to be seen in San Diego wearing a pair of Tevas. So I was like, okay, well, trying to fit in around here. So maybe
rainbows.
I need to make an adjustment.
Maybe you
I
need
don't know.
rainbows.
They look too thin for me. I need a little bit more arch support. I'm
That's
aging,
fair.
my knees, my hips. I need a little bit more support than what the rainbows offer. The rainbows are very thin soled, if I'm not mistaken.
They are, but it's also, it's leather, so it wears pretty good, but there's not a ton of support. I'll send you a picture of my slides later. You see if you like them because they're very supportive. They're very comfortable. I just don't like wearing them out and about because there's something about them that just kind of look like slippers. They look a little too casual.
They do. They look like rentals. They look like the kind of things like, hey, I'm on vacation and I forgot my flip flops.
Like
so
shower
let me buy
shoes.
these.
They
Let
look
me
like
buy
shower
these
shoes.
at the local pharmacy.
Yes, exactly.
Then we'll save it for a different episode. But walking shoes has been a big subject in this house too. Like Hoka's, I think they're called Hoka's and Asics, and we've done a ton of research on this. So
yeah,
But again, I think we're also at a point in our life where it's more function before fashion, whereas it used to be the opposite. It used to be more fashion before function. But now I'm much more about functionality than I am about fashion. So as you can tell. So I didn't watch much of this home run derby last night. I don't know if you did. John alerted me to the fact that Pat McAfee was doing the introductions, which I guess I didn't realize. And I tuned in for a couple of minutes, and it was exactly what you think it is. It was Pat McAfee and somebody else from that show yelling. And, we've talked about this. I don't have anything against Pat McAfee. I understand I'm not the target demographic for this. So, I can accept that I'm not the target demographic. He's an ESPN employee. This was an ESPN event. So he was there. He was doing the introductions. I don't think he ruffled any feathers. He said something about Cal Raleigh. He said he's got the biggest ass in sports or something like that. Whatever. Who cares? Then I watched a couple minutes of it. I watched James Wood. He was the first home run derby participant. And I don't remember when exactly this turned into such a terrible television experience that you literally can't follow what it is that's happening. You don't really know where the ball's going. You can't follow the ball. You don't know if you're supposed to watch which side of the split screen. As a colorblind person, I would tell you where they put the home run total. It was not helpful for me. I couldn't always tell exactly what was going on as a colorblind person. So, they didn't really consider me when it came to this event. And after a round or two, I said, I've got better things to do. Like watch Toronto Football Club against Atlanta United from this past weekend, which was a terrible game. But I suspect it was better than the home run derby, for me, at least, since I'm calling this game tomorrow night. I don't know if you watched any of this. Cal Raleigh won it. Whatever. I mean, it's the home run derby. I have no problem with a sleeveless Pat McAfee being the MC of this event. I mean, if you can't have him be the MC of this event, what exactly are you hiring Pat McAfee to do?
I guess that's true. I caught bits and pieces of this. There was definitely, as predicted, there was definitely chunks where it was on my TV and I wasn't watching. I was, other parts of the house doing other things. The home run derby has gotten, not just is it a terrible television event, it's just gotten overly complicated.
Yes.
Like there's different colored balls and you have a certain number of outs, but then you're also racing a clock. And if you hit home runs of a certain length, you get additional outs. And there's timeouts in the middle of these rounds where they get to play commercials. And I don't know, there was nothing about it that was entertaining, which is weird because you're just watching home run after home run. There was nothing about it that was entertaining. There was a couple moments that were charming, like Cal Raleigh having his dad throw to him and his younger brother catch. That's charming, sure. But no, nothing about this felt big. Nothing about it felt real. Nothing about it felt entertaining. And if you look up any news about this, the only news is about the kid who stole the home run from over the wall. He caught the ball over the wall and stole a home run, and they had to give the home run back to Junior Camarena from Tampa because they were like, oh no, that was clearly a home run that he hit, even though it got caught and brought back. To which I say,
I missed any. I have no idea what you're talking about.
Well, and then I think the reason that they literally reversed it and they're like, no, we're going to count that as a home run, even though it was caught, was because I think they were worried about betting. I think they were worried about people going after this kid who caught this ball for ruining their bets. And they were like, no, we have to take this kid out of the equation. Just pretend it went over the fence and move on. But the game would be a lot more fun if they put tall guys at the wall trying to catch the ball and you had to, and if they caught it, you don't get the home run. I would be much more in favor of that. But no, it was boring. The pacing of it was awful. The rules about it were overly complicated. And look, Cal Raleigh wins this thing, and I think I linked an article in Front Row Seat this morning that was like, this is Cal Raleigh's ascendance to MLB superstardom. How many people today do you think know who Cal Raleigh is? Even after he just won the home run derby? A lot? Because I don't think it's a lot. There's no superstars. It's not entertaining. It's really hard to follow. And it's boring on top of that. The home run derby sucks. And, I did a lot of last night with my wife comparing it to the slam dunk competition, which is also at the point that is overly complicated and boring. And the pacing of it is terrible. And it's not entertaining. And there's no superstars in it. So, I don't know. Maybe we got to get rid of these things.
Yeah, I mean, I really do think that baseball, I would like to see them introduce a skills competition. Now, I'd be lying if I said I watch a lot of MLS All-Star games. I will watch more MLS All-Star activities this year than I ever have combined in my life over the previous 29 years. But I do know that they do a skills competition. And, I will watch this because it's the first that I will be invested in as somebody who's with SDFC. And 3 All-Stars out of 24, 25 guys, 26, I think it is. Kind of a big deal. By the way, do you know what the number is now of players who have been named baseball All-Stars this year? Have you seen what the number is?
No, but I was looking at the roster, and when you look at the roster on MLB.com, they have a little plus next to anyone who's there as a replacement player.
Right.
And they're like half replacement players. I also found it funny that the NL bullpen, which has 6 guys in it, 3 of them are from the Padres bullpen. I was like, well, that's great, but also like 2 of those guys are there as replacements. No, I imagine it's a lot. Let's see, 26 man rosters. Let's add so that's like 50. I say like 70? Like
We're
70?
at 80. We're at 80.
Oh my God.
There have been 80 players who have been named an All-Star. Okay, so that's quite a lot. This according to Front Office Sports. I was reading the story about this Brewers pitcher.
Yeah, he got named an All-Star after pitching 5 games.
Yeah, Jacob Mizorowski,
Yeah.
the Miz, I guess is his name. 5 games, 25 innings. He's 23 years old. He throws a couple of 100 miles per hour, apparently. And, the Phillies, when they were here in San Diego, they were asked about this, and they all whined at the Padre clubhouse, the visiting clubhouse. They're all like, what a joke. This is so stupid. Let's see. I have some of these quotes in front of me.
Hey, wait, before you jump into that, do you know how many players there are, like active players there are in an MLB season on average? It's a nice round number.
1,000.
About 780, which means more than 10% of them are All-Stars this year.
Yeah, okay. Well, the more the merrier. Nick Castellanos said, Major League Baseball is just focusing on the most marketable players. Yeah, no shit.
I mean,
So the fact that they have somebody in the game who's going to basically blow out one inning, throw 103, 104, they're going to get more eyeballs on baseball. They're going to think it's getting more popular. He then went on to compare the All-Star game to the Savannah Bananas. Trey Turner said, what a joke. It's fucking terrible. It's turning into the Savannah Bananas, said Castellanos.
wow, they really hate the Savannah Bananas. Jesus.
I mean, what are we doing here? Yeah, no shit. It's about the most marketable players in the game. I mean, I guess there's a conversation about that. Is it the most deserving or is it the most marketable? Now, listen, I'll be honest. I don't know who Jacob Mizorowski is. Do you? Who is this guy? I have no idea.
I know him because when he got called up, it was like, oh my God, he's the new like Jacob deGrom. Maybe he could be this year's Paul Skeens and take the whole league by storm. He's a good pitcher, right? He's got great stuff. He throws really hard. That's awesome. But okay.
I mean, but yeah, of course, it's about getting popular players to an exhibition game in the middle of the summer.
Yes, but these things also affect things like contract negotiations. This kid now turns around to the team and goes like, I'm an all-star. Like my price goes up, right? And he's only an all-star because he's marketable. Now he's marketable because he throws, really fast and he's got crazy stuff. But he's there for ratings, and that's going to affect his contract negotiations. And I think that's the kind of stuff that pisses off Trey Turner and Nick Castellanos.
Okay, and to be fair, you're right about that because there is a detail here that I've omitted, and I probably would have omitted had you not brought it up. And I'm sure our smart, the people who engage are very smart on the Discord channel. They would have pointed this out. So the Phillies have a couple of pitchers who felt like they got snubbed. Okay, Ranger Suarez was one of those pitchers, except, he just pitched, didn't he, at Petco Park? So I don't think he was going to go, but he wants to be named.
I know, I saw this. I saw a Phillies reporter say he would not have pitched had he been invited to the All-Star game, but then he pitched, and then apparently they came back and asked for him as a replacement, and they were like, he just pitched. You can't
what kind of priorities are those?
I don't know.
I don't know either. That doesn't sound right to me. That can't be right. So there was another pitcher, though, on staff, somebody named Christopher Sanchez, who I guess all the the players are upset that he didn't get it. And the Phillies, I guess to their credit, they gave him a $50,000 All-Star bonus, despite him not making the team, because so many of the teammates were moaning about this being the Savannah Bananas. So I guess they put enough pressure on the team that the Phillies gave this guy an All-Star bonus, which, I mean, it's their money. If that's what they want to do, then great. Somebody brought up, Soto's roster omission, $100,000, and I thought it was a fake quote, but I guess he actually did say that.
Yeah, I found the video. It's real.
And I guess that is considered a bit of a snub. Although I hope people enjoyed that funny clip from my guy Sid Lowe of The Guardian and the Spanish Football Podcast, who bought the Fuck Juan Soto shirt at Yankee Stadium. Didn't have any idea who Juan Soto was, just wanted the shirt. But, I mean, they did trigger the $50,000 bonus. So, he gets $50K and he doesn't have to schlep to Atlanta. So, whatever. I don't know. Who won here? Sanchez or Mizorowski?
Yeah.
I mean, isn't that what the All-Star game is? The second I think people... I don't get upset about this stuff because baseball still insists that every team be represented in this All-Star game. And not every team has an all-star caliber player. And we're now at 80 plus for the game, and teams are just giving out all-star bonuses anyway. So I understand it's the slow kind of time of the year, and maybe there's a point to be made. I mean, it feels pretty unique to me that a guy who's pitched in 5 games is an all-star. But the explanation is that baseball people want to watch this guy pitch, John, and who am I to disagree with that? I don't know that it's going to get me to a television tonight, but Dave Roberts even said baseball people want to watch this guy, which, okay, Dave, I guess. I mean, I'll take your word for it, which sounds to me like baseball itself. The commissioner has said, listen, we got to do what we can to market some of our younger stars. So this guy's going in here. No disrespect to Ranger Suarez, but maybe this guy can generate a little bit of buzz for our game. I suspect it probably won't, but at least a lot of baseball people seem to think it might.
Yeah, so I think this misses. We're hitting all the right points, but as a podcast that yesterday said anyone who's both a Dodgers fan and a Chelsea fan is a 100% certified asshole.
100%.
We're missing the point here, Darren. Okay, Jacob Mizorowski's there. Does he deserve to be there? No, he hasn't done enough to call himself an all-star. Does Clayton Kershaw deserve to be there? No, it's the Savannah Bananas, Darren. It's just the other side of it. Clayton Kershaw's in as a quote-unquote legend pick by the commissioner. Like, what are we doing? It's like if this is just going to be like, hey, you've been a really good player for a long time, and even though you're not good or didn't play enough games, you get to come to the All-Star game because we know people want to watch you, then we need to start disassociating the All-Star game and All-Star selections with contract negotiations whatsoever, because it's become obvious that this is nothing but a television show. And I don't think Clayton Kershaw...
Well, that's an interesting question, though. Is that what it is to you? Because that's what it is to me. And I think that's what it has become to Major League Baseball. But there are a lot of people, who, who are dyed-in-the-wool, baseball-first kind of fans who don't like anything changing ever and would say, well, this isn't a TV show. This is the Midsummer Classic. It used to mean something. Pete Rose and Ray Fosse. And you're like, okay. But that doesn't feel like what it is or what it has been for some period of time. I'm with you. I think it's a television show. And if you want to put this guy on a TV show because you think it'll draw a couple of more viewers, as Nick Castellanos even says, yeah, it's about putting the most marketable people in the game on the television show in the middle of the summer so that people kind of go, oh, wow, okay, I didn't know that. I'm an example of this right here by my own admission. But there are other people, John, who don't agree with us, who don't think this is a television show, that this is, some sort of cherished entity, and the fabric of such an event needs to be protected at all costs.
Well, I think this is the point. You and I can look at this and say that's a TV show. When Trey Turner and Nick Castellanos are saying it's Savannah Bananas, you know what they're saying? It's a TV show. But they don't want it to be a TV show because these guys grew up going, hey, this guy's great because he's a 10-time All-Star. 8-time All-Star. I want to go into the league and I want to make the All-Star team several times, whatever, right? And now it doesn't matter anymore. Whether or not you're an All-Star depends on apparently how popular you are, if the commissioner thinks you're a legend or not. By the way, Kershaw in and no Mike Trout? Come on.
Well, I don't think Trout's in his final year, but
has Kershaw said it's his last year?
No.
There we go. So, but it's a TV show for you and me. It's a TV show probably for the audience. And I think the baseball players, by saying we're doing Savannah Bananas, are going, guys, this I wanted to be an all-star because that meant something. And now it only means something if I have 1 million followers on Instagram, and it's turning into a whole other thing. And I think the people that are getting mad about it, and probably going forward, the only people who are going to be mad about it are baseball players. But this is the type of thing that, when you look back at someone and you go, oh, are they actually a Hall of Famer? One of the things you do is go, how many All-Star games were they in? How many did they start? How many were they in as a replacement, or a fan vote, or whatever? So I think these things matter to baseball, and I think they matter to baseball players. I just don't think they matter to the league, the television partners, or the fans.
Apparently, Ludacris and Jermaine Dupri and Kane Brown will all be performing pregame.
I'm good with that.
I'm good with that, too. I mean, Ludacris is Atlanta. This event is in Atlanta. So I'm glad to know that Ludacris is part of this. This is something that might get me in front of a television.
Yeah.
I don't know about the rest of it, but this might get me in front of a television. I mean, this is the other thing, like the sanctity of the game, and back when it used to be a point of national, I hear all these Philly Billy things in my head. And it's just not that anymore. It just isn't. I mean, we have Pat McAfee with no sleeves on screaming into a microphone about a player's ass. Like, what does this become? So, I think your answer is right there in front of you. You can fight it all you want, but certainly not something. The other thing about the home run derby that stood out to me, I guess there was a little bit of controversy here. You brought up the player or the fan that took the ball back. I didn't even realize that happened.
Yeah.
Did you see that there was a tie between Cal Raleigh and Brent Rooker? That there was a tie? So they, I guess, I don't even understand the format here. Do they face off against one another so it's head-to-head each round or something? There was a tie, and in order for one of them to advance, they go by who hit the longest home run in the round.
For fuck's sake.
Yeah. Well, it gets worse. So Cal Raleigh advanced, Big Dumper did, because his ball went 470.617145241 feet.
Excuse you?
Yes. 470.617145241 feet, whereas Brent Rooker's went 470.535.174.0593 feet. Do you trust those numbers?
No. God, no. One of them, and also, like, maybe one of them got a gust of wind, right? Like, that's... God, I did see someone last night on Blue Sky say, I don't understand why Cal Raleigh and Brent Rooker couldn't just have a swing off. Like, and I'm down with that. Just let them, each one gets 5 pitches. Whoever hits the most home runs wins, right? Like, moves on. No, that's insane. That is, to reference the performer tonight, that is ludicrous.
Do you I mean, is that accurate that they have that? I don't even know. I'm not a math guy. I don't even know how to say that. I don't even, 470 feet. 0.6171. I mean, what is that to like the millionth decimal point?
More than that.
Brent Rooker said afterwards, maybe if they had it down to the letter, they should show it during the Derby and not wait until everybody's done to pull that info out. It could have been useful. Sounds like he was a little salty after this.
Sounds like he was salty.
Again, I'm just reading these quotes. He might have said it with a smile on his face. It is what it is. Had fun, but rules are rules. So, I mean, this is $1 million. I don't know what it is that Brent Rooker makes. But, that he went head-to-head with Big Dumper certainly suggests that he could have won this thing. I mean, this is $1 million that he's not going to get because, according to whatever service it is that they're using here, less than I don't know what it is, a tenth, 100th. Fuck if I know. But it was that much of a difference between him and Rooker advancing. And that's a lot of money. I mean, listen, all jokes aside, that is a lot of money.
That's a lot of money. And my stance. Anytime the sporting event ends and we're talking about the rules, I think you've screwed up somehow. And this is an example of that for sure. Yeah. I will say.
I guess, at first I was like, all right, Rooker, get over it. You sound like a child. Then I thought about it. I was like, that is $1 million. I don't, maybe he hasn't hit the jackpot yet in baseball. I
mean, he has. I know this because I wrote about him last week and said that the Padres should try and trade for him. Last year, he signed a 5-year, $60 million deal. So he's going to make $60 million guaranteed. So it's
$1 million.
Still, it's $1 million. If I have $60, I still want that additional $1. The one thing that I took away from this, that I do this during Home Run Derby, All-Star break, and I especially do this during the World Baseball Classic, where I look at stuff and I go, how could we just take this and introduce it to regular Major League Baseball? It would make baseball better. And last night I was focusing on the bats. Everyone had a really fun bat. Rooker's bat was like bright yellow and it said Rook in like big green letters. Cal Raleigh had 2 different bats. He had a bat he would use when he batted right-handed and a bat he would use when he batted left-handed. And he would switch mid-round, which was different. I think he's the first catcher to ever win the Home Run Derby.
Yes.
But I think he's the first guy ever to do the like hit some home runs left-handed, hit some home runs right-handed. But everyone had fun bats. And I remember years ago talking to a Padres player about when they did like Mother's Day and everyone had like the pink bats. And I was like, do you guys hate that? And they were like, no, we love it. It's fun. Like hitting with a pink bat is fun. And I think they should let guys use these crazy bats in actual games. I don't know why they don't, but they should be allowed to.
All right. I don't object to that at all. Again, I don't know that there's any actual impact on the sport itself, but
might be.
I doubt it.
Yeah.
You think anybody's tuning into a baseball game because the guy's got a yellow baseball bat? I mean, maybe it just, helps expand a little bit of personality, which is something I think that people are looking for when it comes to baseball. Is a little bit more personality, and maybe that's a different form of expression. I'm not sure.
This is what we were talking about the other day, and I was asking you about the Robin Ventura, Mike Piazza thing. Like, baseball used to have all these really fun moments. I saw a clip from a home run derby a few years ago where Barry Bonds, I think in the middle of his season where he hit 70 home runs, he was in the home run derby, and he gets up in the home run derby, and the guy throwing him pitches walked him. Like, they did the intentional walk, the catcher signaled, and then everyone's laughing about it. There's the famous, I guess this was an All-Star Game when John Kruk turned around because he was afraid of Randy Johnson. All these moments show personality, and baseball is lacking in personality, or at least lacking in letting the players show their personality. And anything, even, letting them use fancy, colorful bats, anything to let these guys have some sort of personality is good for the game, good for the fans, makes it a more entertaining watch.
Okay. I mean, I don't know whether they just stopped personality. They don't have any personality, or just, maybe people's interests have changed in the sport. I did see, by the way, this is all, enjoy baseball while you can.
Yeah.
The Padres should absolutely trade Ethan Salas and Leo DeVries, because we're headed towards baseball Armageddon at the end of 2026 anyway. So you might as well go for it this year and next year, because there might not be a sport after that. The more and more you read about this, you have the commissioner who's running around, who's going directly to the players. You have the head of the Players Association who's speaking today, and who the fuck knows what that guy's going to say. But he's also under federal investigation, so, good luck to them. But I don't even see where this is going. I just saw that the Rays owner, Stuart Sternberg, just checked out. He's like, I'm out of here. He's like, I'm taking my $1.7 billion for the Tampa Bay Rays, and I'm moving on with my life, which is, by the way, John, interestingly enough, less than what the Tampa Bay Lightning sold for. Do you realize that? The Tampa Bay Lightning, an NHL team, sold for $1.8 billion. The Tampa Bay Rays are for sale and are being sold for $1.7 billion. I don't know what to make out of that. There's a story, I want to say Jared Diamond wrote it. Jared Diamond of the Wall Street Journal, who's been a guest here on 1904. He wrote a story not only about Big Dumper, but he also wrote a story about the fact that the Minnesota Twins can't find a buyer. And, the Twins are trying to sell. They're for sale for less than $2 billion, I want to say it is. And, he points out that the Charlotte Hornets have sold for $3 billion recently, that an NHL team sold for $1.8 billion, and we're not even sure what the Twins are going to go for here. So they're going to stay in Tampa, which I guess is good. They sold it to a local group, and I guess they're going to build or do something.
He wants to stay in Tampa.
Okay, well, we'll see what happens. Not bad, though. Not a bad return on investment, considering that Stuart Sternberg bought the Rays for $200 million in 2004. Baseball business is pretty good. I don't care what anybody tells me. I know that they're stumbling around a little bit by comparison. But, that's... You go ahead and tell me where I can find that return on investment, and I will invest in a heartbeat.
Yeah, you can take all my money for that, because there's no chance of it. Well, during the last 20 years, there was no chance of it going down. I'm with you. I want to dedicate some time to this at some point soon. I think we're heading towards a really serious, you called it Armageddon, but a really serious negotiation between players and owners for baseball. And I think the same thing about the NFL. It feels like there's something seedy going on in both of those, where it's almost like union busting. It feels like the heads of those leagues are trying to get around the union and go straight to the players. And I think it could get really, really ugly for both of them really, really fast. So
yeah, it sounds like it's getting there as well. And even Rob Manfred's not shy about it. He's like, yeah, I have to go straight to these players to let them know what it is that's happening in the sport and how it is that I think they can benefit, so that this isn't just some battle line drawn where this is civil war and you're on one side and we're on the other side. We need to figure out where the common ground is, so that we can all work together. Now, I wouldn't trust Rob Manfred, and I wouldn't trust any of these owners, but I also think that the situation overall for baseball is a bit perilous when you look at some of the factors and you look at what's happening with some of these other sports. You could say all you want about NBA this, NBA ratings that. It always gets weaponized, especially in political commentary these days. But, the NBA signing for, hundreds of billions of dollars. And, baseball's fumbling around here trying to get a couple $1 million out of Apple TV.
Yeah.
We're not talking about the same things here. We're just not. And some of these baseball owners, it seems like, are starting to get a little bit panicked about what it is that's happening in their sport. So I think that this is worthy of a conversation. And none of it sounds good. People that I know that have worked in the sport forever, like, this might make 94 look like a walk in the park.
Speaking of, maybe this is how we transition. And maybe there's nothing to add here, but I included this in front row seat, and I included this quote in particular. Manny Machado commenting on the Milan Iloski situation with SDFC. Like, I was reading the article, and then I saw there was a quote from Manny Machado, and I'm like, dude, what are you doing? What are you doing? You are a player and you are an owner. Like, this is not a place for you to stumble into this conversation. And he was like, hey, look, it's tough. I get it from the fans' perspective. I'm still trying to figure out all the different rules about loans and transfers and all this stuff. But at the end of the day, I'm on the side of the players. What do you mean you're on the side of the players? You're an owner. Like, the lines are blurring everywhere, and everything is getting really complicated, and it just feels like it's going to a weird place for everything, including with the Milan Iloski situation, which I saw a handful of people yesterday, both on Twitter, which I did go on, and Blue Sky, going like, damn, I thought Darren Smith was going to have some clarity as to what's going on with Milan Iloski. And I was like, oh, wait, I'm sure eventually, yes, but not right away.
Maybe today. I'm heading out there as soon as we're done recording this. Yeah, I mean, here's the thing I would say about Manny, respectfully, right? Since he's kind of my boss. Manny's not involved on that level. Manny, it's like saying, Will Ferrell is associated with LAFC.
Right.
Will Ferrell isn't making any player decisions. Will Ferrell isn't involved in any of the things that are happening when it comes to the academy for LAFC. He's not making roster decisions. He's not suggesting who should be in the starting 11. I think the more important thing that Manny said there, and I guess Manny wants to chime in, which is his right. He's got a million people asking him a million questions. I will say here, like, I've asked Marty to ask him a couple of questions that I could try to use for the pregame show.
Yeah.
And Manny's focused on baseball. And that's a good thing. I think that's a good thing. I don't know that he's focused on all the particulars and the details of what it is that's happening here. So I don't know that he's a great resource other than having an opinion. As somebody who's an ambassador for the club, the same way that Will Ferrell would, he's not involved on that level. He's there to be shown on the screen, to be a good ambassador for the team. And I think Manny does the same thing. Manny's not involved with a lot of that sort of stuff. So any more than Thames is. And she was performing at halftime of the Club World Cup final in New Jersey, which was a good halftime show. I like where they put it up in the stands. It was very clever. But he's just, I'm sorry, everybody, like, he's not involved on that level. Yeah. And I suspect that Tyler Heaps isn't like, well, let me call Manny and find out what Manny thinks about Milan Iloski. I suspect that probably isn't happening. But, if Manny finds himself with an off day and he wants to go hang around and spend some of his off day hanging around SDFC, he's got a right to poke around and ask a couple of questions. But I also think Manny just, he's asked a question and he did the best he could to answer it.
I just want to know what Issa Rae's thoughts are. Every celebrity owner, bring him in. What do you think of the Milan Iloski situation?
What does she think that they ought to do with Milan Iloski? I will say, I think that there's, it took a minute for him to get into the starting 11, and people thought it was so obvious. Well, why isn't Milan Iloski playing more? Why isn't he starting more? And for a lot of people, you would look and say, hey, he's a striker. You know what his job is? Score goals. That's it. Put the ball in the back of the net. And he's done this really, really well. But if you're going to play for this team, other things are going to be expected of you. And I heard Mikey say it when he was asked why Milan Iloski wasn't starting. He's like, hey, we know he can score goals, but there's other things in his game that he has to work on. And, some of that is tracking back. I thought it was interesting over the weekend that there was a clip that was floated out there on social media from SDFC that Mikey was really putting a lot of praise on Ima Boateng for something that he did at the end of the game, which was blocking a shot. He's like, hey, that for me is as good as a goal.
Yeah.
I thought, that's an interesting thing to say, and it's also an interesting thing to promote. But I'm not saying that it has anything to do with Milan Iloski, but it crossed my mind. So maybe I'll have a little bit more. I'll have a chance to chat with a couple of players, have a chance to chat. I'm sure that Mikey, who's going to speak today, will be asked about this. I'm sure that it will be a much more attended media session than it was last week when only Derek Togerson showed up. And, I would suspect more people are going to go today. So I will hopefully have more to report tomorrow. But I just remember what it was that was sad, which was, yeah, we know he can score, but there's other things that you have to do if you're going to play for this team. And some will disagree with that on the surface and be like, no, actually, that's not. We don't need him to do more things.
Well,
he's a striker. You should score. That's what your job is. But if you're going to play here, you got to do the other things that Chucky does. You got to do the other things that Dreyer does. And I'm not saying he doesn't do that. I haven't broken down the film the way Mikey Vares has. So I don't know if he's not tracking back to their satisfaction or not. I'm just coming up with an example. As I said yesterday, I don't really want to speculate about this because people will think I know something. I'm just thinking about the things that I've heard that I think might be relevant to this conversation.
My only pushback on that, and I know this is going to sound really, really stupid, person who knows very little about soccer pushing back on a thing that Mikey Vares has said about his own player. Like, Mikey knows best, right? I'm just an idiot here. But I remember the last 20, 25 minutes of the loss against Houston. They brought in a bunch of strikers because they were trying to, score a goal. And Milan Iloski ended up essentially playing defense. And there was like at least 2 tackles that he made on like the back line to stop a scoring opportunity for Houston. And I was like, wow, I didn't know he could defend like that. Look at him, a scorer, a real pure scorer back there, tackling people, like throwing his body on the ground to get the ball away from that guy. And I thought both of them were great tackles. And I was like, wow, what a well-rounded game this kid has. And then you hear that and it's like, well, obviously, I don't see the full picture. I don't see him in training. I'm not smart enough to watch all of this before those 2 moments, but I just remember seeing those 2 moments going like, wow, Iloski's like on the back line, like making tackles. That's really impressive. So to hear like, yeah, we know he can score goals. I'm like, what was that then? Like, you put him there and it seemed like he was succeeding there. Now maybe he's responsible for the goal they gave up late or something. I don't know. But that struck me as that those 2 things struck me as opposed from each other.
Mm-hmm. I think your point is right. I mean, and I watch it as much as anybody, and anybody who's not on the coaching staff, and I will tell you that there is literally nothing that has stood out to me from watching these games that would make me think that he hasn't been living up to what is asked of him. There's absolutely nothing that I have seen. Now, again, I'm not an expert either. I'm there to provide a little bit of color commentary and drop some statistics in and give Adrian a break every once in a while. But I do watch all the games, and I've not seen anything. I've just heard a couple of things, and this might have nothing to do with any of that. This might strictly be about Nordstrand wants him back because their season is starting in a couple of weeks. They're like, we want this player back, and we are the ones that got this guy. We want him back because we think he can help us. We were a team that finished 4th or 5th in the Danish Superliga last year, and we didn't score a bunch of goals, and we think that this guy in form can help us. And SDFC might be going, well, wait a second. No, we think he can help us. So, it might be that. It might be that. Like I said, I'm sure that they are prepared, that there will be a line of questioning about this today. So, I know that people will be ready to ask these questions. I'm going to interview Ian Pilcher and Pablo Cisniega. So,
cool.
I hope I can be there for Mikey's media session. If not, I'm sure they'll make it available. They always do. But, I honestly... It could be the loan thing. It could be something going on. I truly, but that did stick in the back of my mind, some of the stuff that he has said previously. Like, it's not as simple as just because a guy knows how to put the ball in the net. Some people will tell you that it is, but he is telling you that here it is not that simple. So, again, I think this is, the ultimate point that you brought up is, Manny. It's just interesting that he gets asked these questions. It's like, it's okay for Manny to just say, I'll let the football ops guys deal with that.
Yeah. The part of the quote, the Manny quote that I didn't read, that I skipped right past, and I'll mention why I'm saying it, is the very first part, which he gets asked about it. And Manny's first response is, it kind of sucks. We kind of need him. And I read the rest of this Tom Krasovich article, and Kraz seems to be implying that what he thinks is going on, and I listened to another SDFC podcast yesterday that said the same thing, which is the team that he's on loan from, who I've already forgotten their name, or I'm not going to try. Northland. That FC Northland, they're reading this, they're seeing this, they're hearing SDFC say, we need this guy. We need this guy. And they're going, hey, you want to buy him? Sure. Price just went up. And
yeah, except they're
SDFC's
sister clubs. There's a business arrangement between the two clubs. So, it shouldn't be that hard. But I mean, yes, you would have to work some terms out financially. You're right about that. But, given that the two clubs are owned by the same person, you're literally just, it's moving money from one pocket to another. It's all going to the same place.
Are they owned by the same person?
Yeah.
What's his name?
It's the Right to Dream Academy. This is where Yeppe came from. This is where Marcus Ingvartson came from. This is where Duran Ferry came from. This is, these are the like he was on loan. His loan just ended. The other thing I would say real quick is, the transfer window opens up in 9 days. Yeah. So you can add players in 9 days.
That's
I have
true.
a friend of mine who's an agent who's trying to slip into my ear that this is going to be an active team in the transfer market. And, I don't know that to be the case. I'm just telling you, I have a friend of mine who's an agent who's slipping that into my ear. And I'm like, okay, that'll be interesting. So, maybe this is a situation where they're like, okay, I mean, I just keep thinking through all these hypotheticals. Maybe if you're Milan Iloski, yeah, you have a chance to like really leave an indelible mark on SDFC in your hometown in its first season in the city. The other side is you're 25 years old. If ever you were going to make a run at having a profitable career, like a legit run in Europe, this is it. You know what I mean? Like, that's an interesting thing to think about if you're Milan Iloski. And I suspect he probably wants to stay here. I don't know. I suspect he probably wants to stay in San Diego. I don't know, though. He's 25, and he's in form, and he would have a chance to go play in the Danish league. And the Danish league, you could turn that into the Dutch league, or you could turn that into the Spanish league. You could turn that into something because, there are more opportunities there for you. Or, maybe he wants to be a local legend, and like, who would blame him for that either? I'm just telling you, I don't think any of this is as easy as people want to make it out to be on the outside, because I think that there's a lot of factors from the player side and from the team's plural side about, how to manage this. Because let's be honest, none of us saw Milan Iloski coming in here and scoring 10 goals, in 15 games. Like, none of us really saw that. So, it's been a good thing. It's been a ton of fun to watch. I would love to see it continue. I think he's a good fit. I think he's been a good representative of the club. But, there's other things to think about here. Like I said, and he is a 25-year-old who is in form, who has an opportunity to go play for his European club, which you could say, well, then he'd just be one in a million Americans who have gone across the Europe and you never heard from him again. Fine. But maybe that's what he wants. Maybe that's what he dreamt of doing. Or maybe that's what he thought he wanted to do, and now he wants to stay, right? So there's also that element of it. Maybe he wants to stay. And maybe in order to stay, he says, well, I'm giving this up. So maybe his agent is saying, if he's going to be giving that up, can we work out a way to reward him financially? Because it's not a means to an end anymore. When he went to Denmark to see if he could open up some doors in other European leagues, now he's essentially saying, I'm not going to go do that. So I'm going to stay here. And there's a ton of benefits to doing it. But one of the things that probably won't happen is it won't open up a bunch of doors in Europe, right? So anyhow, these are all just hypotheticals, but it is a really interesting thing that is happening. I hope it's not as controversial as some are making it out to be, but maybe there's just a little more to it. I guess we'll find out a little later today.
The thing that I appreciate, and I think the biggest driver of this is probably Iloski's agent, and maybe he's hearing stuff. Maybe he's getting a call like, hey, we'd be interested in having him here at, Tottenham, in an EPL or at Real Madrid. Maybe he's getting calls like that. And they're like, whoa. Like, SDFC wants us to sign a 2-year contract. We're fine with this year, but we don't want the next year. And SDFC is like, well, no, we're not offering you 1 year. We're offering you 2 years because we only do 2. We want to make sure that this lasts more than this. Like, It could be as simple as that. The interesting side of this is like these things where like a guy doesn't get playing time because there's some weird contract negotiation thing going on in the background. Like, that happens more than you realize. It happens in the NBA. It happens in the NFL. I'm sure it happens in baseball. Mikey Varis being open and honest about it is a thing that we should probably praise, not criticize.
Yep.
But it does make him seem like the bad guy a little bit, right? People are like, oh, really? You're not going to play the best team because of contract negotiations? But like, these things happen. We just usually get lied to about them.
Correct. Yeah, and again, I don't think he's ready to go play for Spurs yet. But the way that he could get himself into some of those conversations, whether it's a club like Spurs or whether it's somebody who's even recently promoted, or maybe it's a second division club in Spain, and people will be like, second division. Yeah, I would love to go play in Malaga for a year and help try to get them promoted to La Liga. Like, that sounds like a pretty amazing thing. Is it as amazing as playing in San Diego in your hometown for MLS and raking a run at an MLS Cup? I don't know. I guess it's open to ever teach their own.
Yeah.
But I don't think you can do any of that stuff. If you just say like, okay, well, I'm giving up. I'm giving up the European stuff to just focus on staying here. But I don't blame him. Like, I think it'd be an amazing thing if he's like, no, listen, like, Marcus is unhealthy. He's not fit. I don't know if he's coming back or not. We never get any info about that. I feel like I'm a good fit here, but, there has to be a little bit of a trade-off. It's not as simple as we have to rethink some of it. Again, like, is there a way that he can just finish out a season here in San Diego whenever it is that it ends, October, November, December? And then, he doesn't have to wait till the winter window, which opens up on January 1st. Maybe that's what they're working on here. But again, it's interesting. It's interesting because I just think that there's a lot of dimensions to it. And I know some of the early analysis has been like, well, how could these two clubs not have this worked out? And like, well, there's a player in the middle of it. There's a human being in the middle of this.
And an agent.
Yeah, and an agent who might have really, really specific and unique ideas that they are presenting here. And then you also have to think, if you keep him, what does this do to your transfer window opportunities or targets? Like let's say you were focused on a number 9 in the transfer market because you figured Iloski's going back, and Ingvartson, I don't know if he's coming back or not. Nobody shared that with me. But let's say you were going to go out and get a number 9, and now you're like, well, wait a second, what's should we do this or should we do, there's a lot. I mean, it's interesting. So I don't know. The club has pushed so many of the right buttons. Listen, like their one big whiff up until this point was probably Andres Reyes.
Yep.
So, I think they get some benefit of the doubt, at least with me, that they know what they're doing. But, until we know exactly what it is that's happening here, I understand why people are kind of confused by all of this, because it just seems like a natural thing. You should keep him. He's a local guy. What are we doing here?
Yeah.
But, there's a million other things that you have to factor in, including, do we know exactly what it is that this player wants? I don't. Maybe other people do. I don't know. I think he probably wants to stay. But I also think maybe he wants to go play in Europe. I talked to him when he first got here. I said, so was this a means to an end? Like, were you always thinking that you were going to go sign for Nordstrand so that you can get back to SDFC? He's like, no, I wanted to go play in Europe.
Yeah.
That's what he told me.
Yeah.
So, now maybe he's changed his mind because this has gone so well. And nobody would blame him on that. But if he changed his mind, then, then it's not as simple as, well, he changed his mind and now he just wants to stay. Like, there's other things that you got to factor in. Nordstrand's season is starting in a couple of weeks. I would, if I'm the coach of that team, I'm like, I want that guy here. That guy is in form. I need to score goals. That guy can help me score goals. And, now all of a sudden it's like, nah, sorry. He's going to go help the expansion club in the States. You're like, oh, okay, well, fuck. I thought I had that guy.
Well, and let me transition you to our last topic, which can be quick because maybe you'll just throw some water on it. But Milan Iloski is always going to be welcome back, right? If he goes to Europe and 5 or 6 years from now he wants to come back to SDFC, I'm pretty sure he's going to be able to come back to SDFC, and I'm pretty sure the fans are going to like it, and they're going to cheer for him, and they're going to talk about the great run he had and the 4 goals he scored in that one game and all that. My question to you is, if Milan Iloski comes back in, give it enough time, 6 or 7 years, are they playing at Snapdragon Stadium or are they playing at Chula Vista?
Well, let's talk about that. I actually would like to spend some time talking about the Pangea.
Let's do it.
In Chula Vista. Do you know what the Pangea is?
Yeah, it's the, well, I know the part that it's like a tennis facility. They say
no, but do you know why they named it the Pangea?
No, I know what
Pangea is?
I know what Pangea is. I don't know why they named it Pangea.
What is Pangea?
It was when all the continents were pushed together. We were one giant continent.
Yeah, it was one big continent.
Yeah.
So I guess they're saying we're going to build this massive continent in Chula Vista.
Sure.
I hope so. They've been cleaning that area out for a while. We ride our bikes through there all the time.
Yeah.
They have been clearing that area out for a while. And Leah and I have been saying something is coming here. I don't know what it is. Now, it doesn't mean it's a 50,000 person soccer stadium or a tennis facility, but they have been cleaning that area out. We ride our bikes past there 2-3 times a week. And I'm going to tell you, each time we say, we're like, yep, more trees gone, more dirt leveled. Something's happening here. Something is happening here. So I'm happy about it. I think it's going to be great for the Bayfront. We can talk about some of the specifics maybe tomorrow. Maybe we should have Jennifer Van Grove on the show.
Maybe. I did mention it on Friday when I did the solo podcast, and I was like, guys, like, plans can change just because they put down 50,000 person soccer stadium on a piece of paper. That doesn't mean it's going to be a 50,000 seat stadium. That's an insane thing to do. But yeah, I would love to dig into the details of this. I would love to get your take on it, because I felt like when we were doing all the stadium talk around Chargers and everything, you did a good job of throwing water on the stupid ideas and maybe giving credence to the ones that are real. So would welcome your take and would welcome, Mrs. Van Grove's take as well.
I mean, I like it. I mean, I don't even fully object to 50,000 person soccer stadium. I mean, what if the Mexican national team is like, hey, we want a headquarters somewhere in the United States, and this could be it for us. What if they wanted to partner up with, let's say, a Mexican club like Club America to play a handful of games here? All of a sudden, And plus, it's out of the city of San Diego, so you won't have to worry about all the terrible politics that comes with operating within the city. So,
are there no terrible politics inside of Chula Vista?
Well, if they could figure out how to pick up their trash, but you don't have, you don't have to deal with like the hotels and all that sort of stuff. And they already proved that they can build something because they finally built the Gaylord Hotel, which is a moneymaker. All right, well, like I said, I really hope everybody understands, like, everything I said is just me, like, totally speculating on the surface. I'm going out there today, so maybe I'll be a little bit more informed tomorrow. Hopefully this all works out for the best. Whatever the best is, for the team, for the player. I do believe that these are a bunch of smart people who know what they're doing, and I think it'll work out for everybody. So we'll just wait and see what happens, and enjoy the All-Star Game, everybody, whether you watch it or not. I have no idea, but ludicrous. The game might be Luda. What song do you think he's going to do? What's an absolute must for Luda?
Oh man, why can't I think of any Ludacris songs? Isn't that? Oh man, it's been a minute. I can't remember any of them.
Bitch.
That's the one I was trying to think of. Yes,
that's that one.
Yeah, of course he's going to do that one. That's one of his biggest hits.
I know, but is that
too much?
Is that family appropriate for an MLB wholesome All-Star Game?
They just move the bitch out. Move. Get out the way. Get out the. They'll just do it like that.
Talk to you when we talk to you.